Hello, and welcome to this second video in which I talk about how I made the world a little bit more manageable. In the first video we talked about what the world actually comprises of, and now I'm going to go through what it was like before I reduced it down a little bit. There's two reasons for doing this really. The first reason is for my own personal benefit, so I can look back and see what I did and why. Secondly, as I said before, I've had a few PMs and messages saying that other people themselves have taken on projects like these, and they found that it's very difficult to manage. There's so much in the background going on. There's so much to do. They don't know where to start. They've got so many ideas, and that's exactly the same problem that I had. So this is just to explain what I did. So we're looking at the world as it is now, but if we click here, we can see how it. No, wrong button. There you go. That's how it was. So there's a lot more lands here. There is about, I think, 18 lands on this, or countries or whatever, named places anyway. On this one, discounting all the oceans, there's 11. So I've reduced it by 7, and I don't really think I've lost a whole lot. And this is what I did. I've kept Giacomorte, or whatever it's called, Giacomore at the bottom there. There it is, along with Emir and Malarai. That's pretty much the same. I've moved it slightly, but it's pretty much the same for the lore in the background. It makes sense that these countries are towards the south. You can see I've done a little bit of moving around. Magador's still there, Aun's still there, Griel's still there. So yeah, Griel, Magador now. They've kind of swapped around, but they're still there, and they're still as they were, pretty much. And the same with Zachara. That's the same as well. But the Vast was like this ash desert. It wasn't a desert in the traditional sense. It was sort of a wasteland of petrified forest, if you like. And I took it out for two reasons. The first reason was that, okay, relatively speaking, it's quite big, but it's not big enough to be called the Vast, I thought. Secondly, it had this thing under it called the Beneath, which I thought was a little bit too much like the Underdark. And I just took it out. I didn't think it was really needed. It's going to be replaced by this area here, which I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. But this area here is sort of going to replace the Vast because there's a race of demons called the Tashi, which I need a place for them to like live, and it's going to be here. This is going to be like a really craggy wilderness, full of mountains and valleys and sheer drops and chasms and stuff like that. And I thought that was a little bit better than this petrified. No, well, yeah, it's kind of a petrified forest. But yeah, I took it out and I replaced it with something else. Zaneg over here was a jungle, occupied by this sort of lizard man type race, and I thought they were called the Such. And I thought, that's completely unoriginal. Completely. There's nothing new about that at all. And I really wasn't feeling it. And so I just cut it. I'm not really keen on jungles anyway. And since I decided to reduce the entire size of the world down from that of the world to that of Europe, there was no real need to include jungles anyway. But I like forests, but I'm not that keen on jungles. My own personal preference. As a side note, this was actually going to get bigger as well, because here I was going to add the Drywind Desert, because I noticed that I didn't actually have any desert, and I thought I've got to have desert, like traditional sandy desert. So I was going to add the Drywind Desert with a race of nomadic people inhabiting it, and so I was actually going to add more to this world rather than take stuff out of it. And I think that's when I started getting bogged down with it last time, or when I actually stopped playing with it and thinking about it, because I was taking on too much stuff. So yeah, Zaneg's gone. Agniton is also gone. Agniton was the homeland to a race of wizardy type creatures called the Aetia. and the Atia were very frail but very very clever. But they'd been they were like too much into magic, and they were like they'd absorbed too much magic, and so their bodies were really frail. And but they were like really like awesome wizards, and I took them out because I decided that my elves were going to be like that. I decided to merge them with the elves, because before my elves were quite your traditional what you think an elf would be, but now I think my elves are going to be a little more frailer, really good with magic, but not so good physically, like quite weak physically. So I decided to merge the A tier with the elves. So then I've kept the sort of wizard race for the RPG, but I've also got a new twist on the elves. Kuranda was a area of complete and utter wilderness that was inhabited mostly by warped creatures from a war between Agneton, the Aetia, and Nethica, with the I still can't remember what they're called, but the Gilth, that's what they're called. So the Aetia and the Gilth had a war here, because obviously this like joins back here, and in order to combat it, the Aetia used their magic to transform some of the creatures and make them into weapons. And after the war was over, they just left the creatures there. And I took that out because I felt that I didn't need another set of weird creatures, because you notice the Outlands is there, and they're warped by magic. So why do I need two sets of warped by magic creatures? Slightly different, I know. There was a cool thing as well with that the Agneton, the Aetia's empire stretched all over here, and they like declined in power, and so there was lots of like ruins with treasures in it. But then I thought, with this map here, I've got that with the elves. There could be like elven ruins like all around here on these islands and stuff. So I'm not losing that either. With you need ruins. You need ruins that you go into and investigate. You need that.